Hello everyone, KosakChess here, and oh, after 5 hours of playing, as you can probably see from the title, without any intro, let's maybe go directly to the game, because we are going to spend some time with each other. I was playing black against FIDE Master from Serbia, so this was a second Serbian player I met in this tournament. The first one was in the first round. D4, knight f6, which is a little bit different approach where I played d5 in the round number 1. Knight f3, d5, and g3. This move order might be tricky because he may want transpose to the Catalan, but in the favorable way for him. There is nothing wrong with playing their e6, bishop g2, and let's say bishop e7, but then after c4 we reach a positions that I am not that familiar with, because I am playing a different line in Catalan, as you could probably see with in the game with Radek Wojtaszek, where this bishop belongs to b4 square, not on e7. So I decided that if he doesn't rush with the move c4, he doesn't rush with attacking the center, I will first develop my bishop and will build this pyramid, this typical London pyramid, because this is the most solid and good structure. Bishop g2, h6 first, because if I start with e6, I can met knight h4 moves, where probably it is nothing wrong with losing this bishop, but I don't like it. I can escape with bishop g4, h3, bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, etc., etc. But sooner or later, this bishop is going to die, and I have to deal with the fact that my opponent has bishop pair. So I have h6 to make the safe outpost on h7, c4, e6, knight c3, and c6. So, as I said, I built this pyramid, queen b3 happened, and the first mistake, I think, happened in the game, because of course I should defend the pawn somehow, and I reacted like pretty optically normally. I played queen b6, where I thought that this is a normal answer to that queen b3 moves. And also I realized that okay, he can push my queen on c5. The thing is that I don't really want to play queen c7 because there is bishop f4 with tempo and I need to move my queen again. So after queen b6, c5, I thought, okay, maybe I have something like queen a6. I like this pawn on c5 because I can sometimes break through with the move b6, open the position on the queen side, and solve my problems with this b7 pawn. So I thought that c5 is on my favor. Now I know that I should go for something like queen c8, which was, to be honest, which was my intention if he played queen b3 one move earlier, like queen b3, I would probably go queen c8 there, and then play c6, bishop e7, knight d7, castle, develop pieces normally. But for some reason I thought that after c5, queen e6, I have b6 next, and everything is safe. But the thing is that, let's have a look at this queen. This queen is attached to this b7 pawn, so it can barely move. We don't like structures. We don't like positions when your queen can barely move. The queen is the active piece. The queen loves space. The queen hates closed positions. The queen hates when it has only few possible squares to move. And he made a great use of it. He spent a lot of time by playing this next shocking, maybe controversial looking move, but it was great. And only after by playing queen a6, by pressing the clock, I realized that there is a move bishop f1. Wow. The idea is simple. I want to play e4, and like, who on the earth plays bishop g2 and then bishop f1? Why? But there is a concrete specific reason. I want to play e4 and win a game. And the thing is, I can't stop e4 nor e3. So if I even, save my bishop, there is move e4, and after queen a5, I lose the pawn on b7 and lose the rook. And maybe e4, okay, yeah, maybe e4. And after b5, there is move knight b5 always. cb5, knight b5, right? cb5, bishop b5, and I lose the queen again. So luckily, during his time of thinking, I was also thinking and considering some moves. That's why I played b5 almost by hand, because this is probably the only move which saves me. This is really dubious because, you know, in the dream world, I would rather to play b6 instead of b5, but it is how it is. Sometimes if you play like a stupid man which doesn't know the rules of chess, you have to deal with the consequences. b5, probably this is the only move. The idea is that now after e4, knight e4, knight b5, I have this intermezzo queen a5 check. I don't have to take the knight immediately, I can give a check first, and he needs to retreat with knight c3, where now I can play knight d7 and free my rook, and I am safe at least. I am as safe at least. That's why he played the move a4, trying to press in the on the queen side, and I played knight b7 too quickly, and I realized that I might get into some big trouble right now. I think now I should go with queen a5 move, trying to push b4. This was the right idea, I think, because after knight bd7, he played rook a2. Of course, the pawn with the rook on a1 was pinned, and he couldn't really take on b5, but with the rook a2, he gets this possibility. But I thought that even better than playing rook a2 was to play queen a2. I know it might look really strange, but he wants to put these two pieces on the a file, and ab5 is a threat, and also he has already the battery on the a file, and I don't know how to react properly, because if I move the pawn in any side, he plays e4, and he wins my bishop on f5. So this is a problem. With the rook on a2, I get the possibility to take on a4 with a tempo, and I can retreat with my queen. So after queen a2, I don't know what do I do. Maybe something like queen b7, but let's have a look. ab5, cb5, he has this free passer, and he can play b4 maybe. Oh, queen a6, like this is already a lost position with this pawn on b5. This is already a lost position. So I am probably really lucky that rook a2 he played, because I think after queen a2 I'm in a big trouble already, because ab5 is still a threat. He played rook a2, b4 with a tempo, rook a4. Probably he should take with the queen, I think, because a lot of endgames, if not every endgame, is much favorable for him. If he manages to exchange queens, queen b7, queen a6, he can attack this c6 pawn for every time. Queen a6, rook a6, knight b8, like come on, but I don't want to play knight b8. If I go queen c7, he goes bishop f4. So this was probably the thing. He should recapture with the queen. He really helped me a lot, and that's what was probably the beginning of I don't know what. Queen c8, queen a2. So he knew this idea, but probably he played it a little bit too late. Knight e4. I just decided, okay, I don't care about this pawn. He can take it. You can lose another tempo by winning this pawn. I want to activate my pieces somehow. I want to put you under some pressure. I played the move knight e4. Knight e4 was played with the intention of some messy tactics, but I blundered one thing. He played rook a7, and queen a7. And after he played rook a7, I realized that I blundered again, because my first intention was to play knight dc5 and dc5, bishop c5. I sacrifice a piece, but in return, I get the pawn on f2, I destroy the position of his king. Of course, I am piece down, but then I castle, and then I castle. Yeah, thank you for the suggestion of one of my viewer who told me that I am making mistake, and I was only saying I make a castle, which is the clear translation from Polish into English, but this is not how it works in English. I just castle, I just not make a castle, so thank you very much. After bishop f2, I can castle, and yeah, he's down in the development, so I think I might have some compensation, but he has knight e4 move, which ends all of my dreams. Knight e4. If I recapture with the pawn on bishop on e4, doesn't matter, I lose the bishop on c5, so I am two pieces down already. And after bishop a7, there's knight d6 check, he gets my queen, and he's almost a full piece up, which of course leads to a losing endgame. So I went for g5. Let's have a look also that I play quickly, because there's no need to think in such positions when you are most probably lost or much worse. Play quick moves, play like Giga Kuparadze, play the moves which your opponent would not like to face, and additionally, if you manage to do some threats, like this is probably the good way how to deal with the positions you don't like, with the positions which are worse, which are maybe on the verge even of losing. Just play chess, play active moves, maybe a little bit, go out of the box, so don't play like usual correct normal moves. But let's play g5. Let's do something, unorthodox. Let's go for some crazy fight. This was at least my idea to deal with this position, and it turned out to be not that bad idea, because he started to play he played h4 like during the game. What I was thinking of. uh, During the game, I thought he can just go bishop g2 and develop pieces. Like there's no need for like pushing me to play g4. I will play bishop g7, and he's at least maybe one tempo quicker to make to castle. He's one tempo quicker to castle. Yes. Like during the game, I was happy with the move h4, g4, knight d2. I take the knight on d2 because knight c3, bc3 improves a structure, and the pawn is protected. So knight d2, bishop d2, and bishop g7. Now I make a pressure on that pawn. He plays bishop e3. I not e3, like e5. I know, but you open the bishop. You can somehow even defend the pawn like this, or maybe you don't even have to. You can just go bishop a6. You can make a castle, and if I take twice, maybe I can get some check, etc., etc. I don't know, like. Bishop e3, I was really, really happy because you lose another tempo. But let's have a look. I have 40 minutes of advantage on the clock. So it's quite a lot. And I already have, let's have a look that we are going to move our pieces to the more active squares. e5. So striking the center. d5, knight e5. Bishop g2, castle, knight c4, bishop c1, queen e6. And now if you look at this position, would you even, like, without calculating the material, would you even tell that I am pawn down? Like, not really, because it optically looks like I'm just more active. Of course, if you count the pawns, I am pawn down, but on the board, I have almost every piece active, and he's down on the clock, so it is like move number 23. So there is still 17 moves to the time control, and he's left with 12 minutes. He played the move e4. Good approach, but I think maybe he missed one move. d4, rook e1. He wants to open the position. He wants to open the bishop, put the knight on the central square. But I have this annoying move, knight d5, which I almost played by hand because I was prepared for that. The thing is that if he takes with the bishop, I play knight f3 and I immediately win the material. And if he plays knight d4, I have knight d3. I go the knight to the two different directions. And I win something on e4, maybe something on e1, maybe something on c1. I win something at least. So he played the move rook d1. And now I thought, okay, I regained material finally. So this is now the time to think. You have 52 minutes. Now you can simply sit down, calm yourself, and think. And probably when I started to think, my quality of game dropped a little bit because I couldn't find any plan. Like, when I knew that this position would be much worse or even lost, I would play again by hand and I don't care about the consequences. But when I knew that now I have the real chances to fight for something, Now, like, I wasn't that optimistic with hurrying with my decisions. I played knight d3, bishop e3. Like, I realized that the outpost on d3 should be the best place for my knight, so why not? Bishop e3 and queen b3. There were really interesting lines there after knight b2, I think. He plays rook d6, queen c4, because after queen b3, the funny thing is that he can most probably take on e4. Knight c4, knight f6 check, king h8. If I give up this bishop, I have to be cautious because maybe it's gonna to be me who has to, who has to wait, who has to care about his king. So king h8 and maybe something like queen e7. And knight d6, cd6, it looks scary with d7, d8, with this knight on f6, which can jump on h5, attack this bishop. Like, no. Definitely not today. But if I were about to play queen c4, I know it might look strange, but I was calculating knight d1. Knight d3, just to play queen c2 and close this knight in cage. Something like a cage. But queen e7 anyway. Queen c2, bishop h6. He just moves his pieces closer to my king. And okay, I can take on h6, rook h6, queen d1, king h2, and apparently his king is safe on h2, and mine is not. Some queen g5 ideas, some queen f6 ideas. I am piece up, but I can't do anything. So, like, freeing the rook and allowing her to put it on d6, I couldn't do it. I played queen b3, queen a4, a really good approach of him, but I decided, okay, if I exchange queens, I am never ever going to be checkmated. I played the move h5 because in many variations this bishop is annoying. Oh, sorry. It's not the end of the game. Like, we even didn't reach a half of the game, so don't go to the beginning. Rook d2, rook a8. Now it is also a really pleasant situation when he is a little bit more passive. He's left with less than 4 minutes, and I can slowly grind. He played knight c3. If he plays b3, I think I have rook a5 and rook b5, and I can still have an eye on this pawn. So he played knight c3, and I am happy with that decision, although this is controversial and no, not controversial. I missed the word, but the consequences of that decision would be eternal. Bishop takes c3. Like, you give up this strong bishop, but for one important reason. After bc3, rook a1, king h2, I thought that his pieces are somewhat frozen. Like, bishop on g2 can't move, rook on d2 can't move. Like, we can't really move this rook into game. So, and I have easy plan. I want to bring my king somewhere there, maybe in some position, play knight e1, knight f3. Like, this is a freedom position for black. I can do everything I want. Even the rook has a trouble to activate via b or a file because I'm protecting these squares. So yeah, I'm happy. f6, rook e2, and king f7. And he played the move c4. He probably realized that bishop d4 is not a threat at all because I can play king e6. If he grabs the pawn, bishop e4, king f5, and rook goes somewhere, I have knight e1 move. And he can't stop knight f3 and rook g1. This is amazing, but this is the power of the light squares and the no power of this dark squared bishop. So probably by panicking a little bit, he played the move c4, but now I can slowly attack this pawn because now it's not going to be protected by dark squared bishop. Bishop g6, first to check and wait for him because now, yeah, like, I'm just waiting. Bishop d4, and he made the move, and now I have rook c1. Again, if he takes the pawn on e4, I have two options. Maybe the simpler one is just to take the pawn on c4 where this bishop is pinned. But again, knight e1 works, so both approaches winning. Rook a2, I took the pawn, and I took another pawn, and I reached time control being 2 pawns up, apparently. And bishop f7 was somewhat a tricky move because I almost expected him to play that move, which I assessed it is gonna be lost. Because he played bishop takes c5 and he recaptured the pawn. And this was probably the beginning of his troubles in endgames. Like, okay, like now he's 2 pawns down, so he's suffering anyway. But this bishop on e3 is so good. It covers many important squares, and it's bishop. All of everything, it is bishop. So it is strong piece. Like, it attacks this square, it defends this square. It might be annoying because with the connection with the bishop and rook might be annoying, because if he manages to free his rook, he can give me some checks, etc, etc. Attack this f6 pawn. I don't know, but I would never give up this bishop. After he gives it up, I'm happy. I play the move f5, rook c2, king g1, and rook c1. I made everything with a tempo to have the clear way for the pawn to just go and run away, run Forest run. King f6 first, because after c5 I allow something like bishop d5, and I didn't really want to evaluate if this endgame is winning or not. First I played king f6, rook h7. For so long I was calculating rook e1 move, like something like a study idea. The idea is I want to play rook e8 and close this rook in the cage, because you can see the only possible way to free the rook is via h8. But the thing is that, okay, after bishop c6 I am probably winning because I still managed to somehow get the 8th rank. Even bishop f5. Bishop f5. Yeah, bishop f5 is unnecessary. If I blunder bishop f5, it is not that clear. Okay. Well, but even rook h8, I am not I am not so sure about this. Rook e8, bishop e8, and king g1. And I know it looks, at first glance, it looks totally winning. Maybe even it is totally winning. But I have, all these kingside pawns on the light squares. His bishop can free one day and attack it from the bottom. So no, just play c5. Run Forest run. Rook h6, bishop g6, rook h8, c4, rook c8, c3, rook c6, king g7, rook c7, king f8, rook c6, and many interesting variations there. Because for me it wasn't that easy how to assess all of these positions, and because I can play c2. I can. But after rook g6, rook d1, rook c6, c1, like, my intuition tells me that the position is winning. My intuition tells me that the position is winning. But during the game, I wasn't that much convinced. He plays bishop d5, let's 7. Let's 7? Wow. Let's say. And then king g2. And I know that these pawns, or the light squares, are annoying me so much, because bishop can attack it. Of course, this bishop has a limited space, although it's in the center. Now with the king on e7 can really get to these pawns. But I don't know, if I push f4, maybe it would be even too late, because he plays f3 or something. Like, I don't know, like, maybe it is winning. My intuition tells me it is. But if it is not, I would be in big trouble, because I don't win a game. I played bishop e8, rook f6, and there is a really, I will tell you, there are two moves possible, king e7 and king g7. I played king e7 in the game, and probably this is the most accurate. But after king g7, rook f5, he can play c2, And after rook c5, there is bishop g6, and we like directly go to the game because the similar variation happened in the game. But after not rook c5, but bishop e4, just attacking this pawn and threatening rook c5. If I play bishop g6, he plays rook g5. So I lost the bishop for no reason. And after rook h1, yeah, I can play rook h1 anyway, I know, but I think I want to tell you the whole idea. The whole idea is that after bishop e4, rook h1, he recaptures with the bishop. Very important thing, because after king h1, c1, king h2, bishop g6, rook g5, there is queen g5, and I am winning anyway. But after bishop h1, I had no clue what it is. Still, again, my intuition tells me that it is winning. But after rook f4, isn't it some kind of a fortress? During the game, I was not sure. Probably it is not, because I thought that after queen d1 I can build up a setup something like this. First to put the bishop on f3 to cut the communication between the rook on f4 and the pawn on f2. Then to play queen e2 to attack the pawn, and if the king defends it, I play queen e1 and I anyway win the pawn. I am not sure. I would check it after the analysis, but you know, some crazy ideas like this came to my mind. But I anyway played the move king e7, rook f5, and bishop g6, and I think this is the almost the last accuracy. I make everything with a tempo. I put the bishop on g6 where I don't allow bishop e4, and with the pawn on c2, the bishop would protect the pawn and I can easily free my rook and promote to a queen. Rook e5, king f6, rook c5, c2, and now with the bishop on e8, he could go for something like bishop e4, but now this square is covered. So rook c6, king g7, rook c7, king h6, now no checks. Rook c6, rook e1, important thing, because if any other move is played, there is bishop e4. So rook d1, bishop e4, and he manages to survive because c1 queen, rook c6, king h7, and rook c6. And now without the f5 pawn, it is draw for sure. For sure, it is a draw. So rook e1, but he played bishop e4 anyway. Tricky man. So after c1, again there is rook g6, king h7, and rook c6 attacking my queen, and again we reach the same position. So I just need to take with the rook, although I lose a pawn, but I create the setup where I put the rook on e1, where I put the bishop on e4. He made a last try by playing f3. Of course, a good try. I would also do this because after bishop f3, he can give me something like a perpetual. Probably it is even not, because if I play king e8, I think maybe I can, or maybe I can't. Yeah, I can't escape because he plays rook d8 and he keeps me checking via the a rank. But I played rook e2 check, then I can easily recapture the pawn on f3. And after 5 hours of fighting, my opponent resigned. And I won. Whoa, okay. Guys, really, it would be a really quick engine check. Because I am already talking almost for half an hour. So let's check it quickly. Blah blah blah, this is the opening. Probably I blundered. Oh, queen b6 is not that bad, but I should... yeah, queen c8 is okay, but not queen a6. Right, not queen a6. Bishop f1, really good move. And b5, a4, knight d7. Yes, queen a2, as I felt. Queen a2 is losing on the spot, almost. b4, okay, 4, queen c8. Knight d4. So he captured the pawn, then I played g5, okay. g4. Oh, and this advantage is not that big right now. Bishop e3, yeah, bishop e3 looked strange. Bishop g2, castle, knight c4, bishop c1, queen e6. Now the position is equal. d4, rook e1, knight d5. Ooh, knight d5, a good move. Also, I can say that after e3, I would love to take on c3, yes, and bishop e4, and I would be trying to checkmate via the light squares. e4, d4, rook e1, knight d5, rook d1, knight d3, bishop e3. Okay, so the engine says I could take on b2, but played queen b3, queen a4, h5. Yeah, so I have slight minus in the position. Oh, bishop c3, good move. Ooh. Now the minus is increasing. f6, king f7, bishop g6. Wow, it's already -2. I can grab another pawn. I grab another pawn. Rook g7, bishop f7. Yes, and yeah, and bishop c5. I don't like it. He should keep the bishop. He should keep the bishop, in my opinion, because this endgame is lost. Rook c1, king f6. Boom. Bishop g6, c4 push, 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 push. Bishop e8. I am curious if can I play c2, the engine. Rook g6, rook d1, rook c6. Yes, most probably I can. Most probably I can push, although there is -4. Like, okay, I am not sure because the engine says the same advantage after every move. So it is. I am not sure about it. I am not sure about it. I played bishop e8, safer move. And yeah, let's maybe check this potential fortress because c2. Come on, KosakChess. Come on, KosakChess. Don't come back to the beginning. c2, rook c5. No, not rook c5. Bishop e4. No bishop g6, but rook h1. It is a fortress. Wow. Guys, like, why I know it? Because if there's -2 when you're a queen up, it is a fortress. Wow. Like, I don't know why, but so what if I play bishop b5, bishop g2, and bishop e2? Okay, bishop a8, and queen d1, king g2. Yeah. Although now the advantage increases, so probably I can win it somehow. But as you can see, the position is not so clear. He was trying to make some really cheap and nice tricks, but in the end, I clinched it. I think rook e4 the only move. Oof, and rook e1. And then I won it. Okay, so this is definitely the longest analysis on this tournament, but 5 hours of fighting, so sorry for that. But I hope you would enjoy it anyway. Our current result is 4 points, 4 points of 5 rounds, so it's going to only be better, I hope. And see you in the next recaps. Thank you for your presence, guys. Ciao.